Hey everybody, it's Geologist Taylor, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 picks for outdoor activities that you can do in San Diego, California. My number 5 pick is so easy to get to in the middle of a residential area, so there's plenty of parking. Of course, I'm talking about the Spruce Street Suspension Bridge. It took a lot of cuts to say that. That's a tongue twister. The weather in San Diego is perfect pretty much the entire year, so you do have some great photo ops in this area. And it's close by a ton of other attractions in San Diego. Now, it is an actual suspension bridge just for pedestrians to walk across. I'm not the biggest fan of heights, so it did take a little bit of getting used to. It's about 375 feet long and about 70 feet above the floor of the canyon below you. It was originally constructed in 1912 to give pedestrians an easier route to get to some new trolley lines that were built out towards the east. So while you may not be trying to catch the next trolley, you can walk back and forth across the bridge and enjoy the wonderful scenery and some really good views of downtown San Diego peeking through the trees. And because it's a suspension bridge, it will shake if people are walking back and forth or moving their bodies side to side. But once you're on it for a few minutes, you do get the hang of it and you do get used to being 70 feet above the canyon floor. I'm absolutely positive that if I can make it across this bridge with my fear of heights, that literally anybody can get across the bridge. That brings me to my 4th outdoor recommendation for you in San Diego, and that is to explore Coronado. And it's not strictly an island, though there is one primary way that people get in and out of Coronado, and that is the Coronado Bridge. And as you can see, we chose to go across this bridge when it was incredibly foggy. You couldn't really see much of the San Diego skyline. While Coronado has a bunch of shops and cool restaurants and parks and all that kind of stuff, there are really 2 main places that I would highly recommend stopping. The first is Centennial Park. So of course you will see some wonderful views of downtown San Diego from Centennial Park. If you look just to your right, when you're standing at the edge of the park, you will see Coronado Bridge, which you just drove across. And as a geologist, I think I'm legally obligated to say this. I like beer, and as a recommendation, just down the road from Centennial Park is Coronado Brewing, which makes some really good, fantastic tasting beers that I recommend you try. On the other side of Coronado is the second stop that I'd recommend at least just walking around. You don't necessarily have to stay there, but it's the Hotel del Coronado. It's a really unique hotel, and so you've probably seen images of it before, but I recommend walking around, taking in the sights and sounds. There's a beach that's right there if you want to go and get in the water for a bit, but it's a really nice, relaxing place to just walk around. For my 3rd pick, I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and put 2 locations into one because they are so close to each other and they're very easy to either drive or take a nice little walk to both of them. The first is the Children's Pool Beach. There are plenty of cool shops and restaurants and all that kind of stuff to walk around La Jolla. But the Children's Beach has incredible views. You can walk along the seawall. The main reason, though, is you get really good up-close views of the seals that populate the La Jolla Beach. Aside from being on Coronado, the children's pool, the seawall with the adult seals and pups, the water, the rocks that are outcropped there, they provide really great views of the water in San Diego. And eventually I'll get around to a video explaining best practices for outdoor recreation and leave no trace principles. For now, I'll keep it fairly simple. The first is to not disturb the seals. Don't throw food at them or try to disturb them in any way. The second thing is if you brought anything to the beach, please make sure you pick it up and pack it out and take it with you back home to dispose of it properly so that any other animals or anything in the area don't get a hold of it or it washes into the ocean. And if you see anybody messing with animals or that there is a sea lion or any other animal in the area that is sick or injured, there are a few numbers that you can call, and I'll leave those in the comments for you below. And the second part of this is just a short drive away from the Children's Beach, and that is the La Jolla Tide Pools. And the La Jolla Tide Pools are great for kids. And for best viewing of these tide pools, you really want to time it up with low tide so that kids can get up close and personal to the wildlife such as crabs and fish. Regardless of what you specifically do in La Jolla, we love the area. It was great to park and walk around and really enjoy the scenery all along this rocky coast. My second pick brings us more into the heart of San Diego, and it is Balboa Park. And it's actually right down the road. It's less than a 5-minute drive from that Spruce Street suspension bridge. So I definitely time these up of when you're going to these so you're not driving from one end of the city to the other. And there really is a ton to do in Balboa Park. It's not your typical city park. It is huge. There are a ton of museums. There's the San Diego Zoo. There's just a lot. So you can spend a day just walking around like we did. If you like art museums, they have it. If you like animals, they have it. If you like air and space, they have it. There's just a ton to do at Balboa. So it is definitely worth a stop if you're in San Diego. And that brings me to my absolute #1 must-do when you go to San Diego. And that is explore the Jolla Sea Caves. This is something I definitely would recommend getting a tour guide because the waves can get choppy and you're going in and out of these rocky caves and cliffs. It is well worth your own safety and just to increase your knowledge of the geology and the biology of the area to go with experienced cave guides. We ended up doing our tour through the Jolla Sea Cave kayaks. And because of our own mistake with how many companies there are, we ended up going to a couple of other tour companies. So just by accident, we ended up going through all of these other companies. And from that, the ones that we chose, the Jolla Sea Cave kayaks that we booked ahead of time, were by far the nicest. They had the nicest facilities. The equipment they rented out were great. And I would highly recommend them. Their tour guides were super knowledgeable. Like I said, the equipment was nice. They had great facilities in there for you to change and leave your stuff in a locker. We ended up just renting a tandem kayak. And so the kayak, along with essentially 2 hours of going out to the sea caves, exploring them and coming back, all in was $85 total. Depending on the time of year that you go, especially during the summer, this is something that you want to book in advance. The times that they can take people out to the caves, depending on the tide, are very limited. So you want to book in advance to ensure that you're able to go out and actually see the caves. And of course, I wanted to go out there because it's a sea cave and geology. But once you get out there, there is a ton of really cool wildlife to see. There's a bunch of birds. You get some really cool close-up views of seals. We even went into a cave and saw a seal all by itself, just chilling. It really was the highlight of the trip, even though we almost died getting out there. That's an entire other story. But definitely please, no matter what, go out and check the sea caves if you visit San Diego. And that's going to conclude my top 5 recommendations for you to do in San Diego. If you have any cool or interesting stories about some of the places that I mentioned, or there are places that I missed that you'd recommend I visit, please let me know. And now we've come to the end of the video where I beg and plead for your likes and subscribe. It's the only thing that keeps me going. And aside from hitting that like and subscribe button, keep going outside, keep going on adventures, keep exploring, keep learning, and together, let's rock the outdoors.